After this weekend's batch prep, I have a couple things left over, but lately I've been super busy and I haven't had much time to spend in the kitchen, so I want to make some grab and go meals so that I don't have to worry about cooking for the next few days. So with these leftovers, we are going to do a breakfast, lunch, and dinner prep, and if you want to do this prep right along with me, I have written out all the recipes, directions, and shopping list for this prep. So if you're on my email list, you have this in your inbox already, but if you're not yet on my mailing list and you do want a copy for free, make sure you check out the links in the description box or the pinned comment down below. First up is breakfast. I have been craving a savory breakfast lately, and I also wanted to try out some freezer-friendly options. So I decided to make these TikTok wrap hacks with a tofu scramble and see how they hold up in the freezer. But first, we're gonna chop all of these onions. I love to use the chopping blades in my food processor for onions, so I can just batch prep them all at one time because I really hate cutting onions by hand. So I'm just going to chop these all at once. I'll be using some today, and the rest will get stored in either the fridge or the freezer. Now, when choosing what to put in your tofu scramble or in the wrap itself, you want to stay away from like watery vegetables, things like fresh lettuce or tomatoes. Even vegan sour cream doesn't hold up that well when you reheat it. So just keep that in mind when choosing your fillings. You want something that reheats well so that you don't end up with a soggy breakfast. And I'm actually doubling this filling because I have a lot of tofu to use up. I have about 2.5 blocks. And then for veggies, we have chopped mushrooms, spinach, and of course some onions. And I'm using the tofu scramble recipe from Rainbow Plant Life. It is so delicious. If you want to check it out, I will link it down below. Now, I've read the key to freezer prep, at least for these kinds of wraps or burritos, is to assemble everything once it's cool, and that's another way to prevent a soggy tortilla. So I'm gonna let this tofu scramble fully cool. We'll even drain off the excess moisture if there is any, and then we will assemble at the end of this prep. For lunch, I'm just gonna do an easy peasy salad. I've got these leftover lentils to use up, and I always keep riced cauliflower in the freezer. So I'm just gonna add some fresh herbs and fresh veggies, and this salad will be ready to go. So I'm just washing the veggies first, and then of course rinsing the lentils and the riced cauliflower. And then once those are drained, just add them into a bowl with your herbs and your veggies. So I have some parsley here. I'm just removing the stems first and then giving it a rough chop. And I have two kinds of mint here, but we only need the green mint for this recipe. And same as with the parsley, just remove the stems first and give it a rough chop. And then for our dressing, I'm just using some veggie broth, lemon juice, lemon zest, salt, and pepper. Now, pro tip, this salad will only last in the fridge for about 3 days, and that is because of the fresh tomatoes and cucumbers. Once they're cut, they don't stay fresh as long. So what I like to do is only make about 3 days worth at a time, and just make sure you're eating it over those first few days. Don't leave it till the end of the week. And this salad is perfect to take on the go because you don't have to reheat anything. And of course, you can also pack it with some sides like hummus and pita if you like. So first, I'm just adding a little bit of arugula, and in this box, I'm adding some stuffed grape leaves. You could also add a side of olives, crackers, or even some vegan feta on top if you'd like. For dinner, I'm gonna use this leftover rice to do a pineapple fried rice. We have been getting a lot of pineapples in our produce boxes this summer, so if you have a fresh one to use, this recipe would be great for that. But even if you only have canned, that will work as well. Just make sure you're using the pineapple in juice, not in syrup. It's also important to use leftover rice for this recipe. Freshly cooked rice does not work well in fried rice recipes, so this can be a good option if you do find yourself with a lot of leftover rice after a batch prep. And I also love fried rice because it's really versatile. Feel free to sub out any of these veggies for ones you have on hand. I like to use a mix of fresh and frozen because I find I always have frozen veggies to use up, and so I usually just change it up depending on what we have to use. And lastly, of course, I just need to wrap up this tofu scramble and then we'll be done. I'm also just adding in some cooked sweet potato and rice just because I have them to use up. But of course, this is optional. You could just keep it with the tofu scramble if you prefer. And then feel free to wrap it in any style you like. I actually tried it a few different ways, and then I just wrapped them in parchment paper. And then I also did a couple burrito style because that is what my husband Q prefers. Don't forget to label them, and then you can add them into a Ziploc bag or wrap them in aluminum foil. So even with our wraps and burritos, I still had tofu scramble left over, which we can just eat fresh throughout the week. Plus, of course, our salads and our pineapple fried rice. So just popping the wraps and burritos into the freezer, and now our meal prep is done. Okay, it's been a couple days. I'm going to reheat one of the frozen wraps for breakfast, and we'll see how it tastes. Delicious. I don't know why I'm surprised, but this is really, really good. So happy these freezer wraps worked out. They were delicious. And just as a reminder, if you want a free copy of this meal prep, I'm gonna leave it in the description box and the pinned comment down below. And with that, I hope you guys enjoyed. Let's eat plants, and I'll see you guys next time.